welcome to the final chapter of the Ultraviolet Catastrophe, a 5-part miniseries brought to you by Standing Stones and Hearthside Enclave. Today we're playing Karma, a game about consequences by Frenzy Kitty Games. I'm August. You can find me for the time being on Twitter at Harpydora or on Tumblr, losing my goddamn mind about Minecraft at Strange Harpy. Playing with me today we have Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle. I use she, they pronouns, and you can find me on the internet at RedTailTalk90.
We also have Dirk.
Hello, I'm Dirk. I use they, Phee, and he pronouns, and you can find me on Hope's Hearth and on PF Diva and various places. I exist.
We have Jade.
What up? It's me, Jade. I'm not a boy or a girl or anything particular, but I'm on the internet at Jade Oxford Rose, and I use they, them pronouns.
And as always, in the anchor position, we have Schrag.
What up? This is your boy. It's Schrag. I use he, him pronouns. You can find me on the internet if you want to.
Fair and valid. Our lines, which are things we absolutely do not want to see, are homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, violence against children and animals, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, plagues and pandemics, and alcohol abuse. Our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but will just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. With all that out of the way, let's get started. So Karma is a really great game. Let me scroll back up in the document. Basically, you start out by picking a playset where you answer some world building questions. You create your characters, which also have some playset related questions to them, and you play out scenes, and the scenes allow for complications to be introduced by people who aren't in the scene, and you can roll to determine the outcome of the complication, and you can affect that roll using a quote-unquote karma die, which you can use to either influence it positively or negatively, and depending on how the karma dice get used will determine the amount of dice you roll and of what type you roll at the end to determine the final outcome for your character. So the playset that we have chosen is Paradise, and the blurb for Paradise is stranded, isolated, desperate. None of you can remember exactly how long it has been since the plane came down, but it feels like you're never going to get off this island. This is a bad situation, and the weather and dwindling supplies aren't making it any easier. Something needs to change soon, or we're all dead. So, why don't we take turns reading the answers, reading the world building questions, and reading our answers to them? Mm-hmm. And I'll start off. What caused the plane to go down? Is it understood or strange? And our answer is an electrical storm of some sort caused the crash.
Describe the island. How big is it? What does it look like? There are black sandy beaches all around. You can lap the circumference of the island in a day. Crossing it is much more difficult due to terrain. I'm going to say it's rocky terrain. And the interior of the island is dense, thorny foliage.
How long have you been here? Most have stopped counting, but Talanor's daystick has over 50 notches.
Who is seen as a leader among the survivors? For a short while, everyone looked to Vivien as the one who might have had the training to help, but it quickly became clear that they didn't have any more of a real plan than anyone else. Anyone else with the energy left to come up with an idea? Sure, they can be the leader for whatever that matters to them.
Describe how the weather is causing problems. It's incredibly hot and humid, and it doesn't rain much.
What supplies there are surplus of? What supplies there are shortage of? Plenty of food, very little fresh water. There is a spring with good clean water, but getting to it is tricky, and transporting it in any decent quantity is difficult.
Is anyone responsible for hunting or foraging? Ow, motherfucker, that hurt. These are rotating duties. I'm glad the captions actually did motherfucker right. Good.
Incredible.
A+.
These are rotating duties. Whether they get completed to anyone's satisfaction is a thing of contention.
What dangers lurk on the island? Extremely poisonous snakes, as well as volcanic and seismic activity. It doesn't look like we have an eruption anytime soon, but there are geysers, there's unstable terrain, and earthquakes as well.
Where'd it go? Is everyone aware of these? Yes, we learned about them fairly early on, all the various issues during early attempts to scout the island for resources.
In terms of describing our camp, we have repurposed parts of the plane and or the fuselage. We've made some surprisingly sturdy huts out of palmetto fronds, and we have a well-dug-out fire pit surrounded by scavenged-up seating.
There's one question, if you're familiar with the playset that we're skipping, because it can skirt a little close to anti-Indigenous sentiment. So the next question that we have is, what is currently preventing your rescue? Electrical storms are stopping us from getting any sort of radio signal out, and while we can't say for sure, it's probably why we've not seen any boats or planes in the area. A very large barrier reef and breaking waves make swimming/boating out there dangerous.
How many rescue efforts have been made thus far? There have been 5 failed escape attempts and 2 rescue operations that we know of that passed us by. In all cases, we couldn't get past the barrier reef and communication was impossible. The rescuers have moved past our location now in their sweep of the area and may have given up completely.
Are there any other survivors? Who? There's one other survivor. It is Giazai, Talanor's husband.
We chatted a little bit because I just want to know, like, there were probably other survivors of the crash. Not anymore. You know, we've been here a while. Shit's fucked. But there were people who survived the crash to then fall victim to parts of the dangers of the island or injuries or during the escape attempts.
Mm-hmm.
So, because now we're just down to 6 people. So, shit is well and truly fucked. Thank you, Packbat. Yes, you are quite a succinct summary of events.
Now that we've got our world building out of the way, let's discuss our characters. I think, by now, you know who we're playing. But we've done a little character building for this particular setting. Let's go ahead and go through up to our relationships, and then we'll take turns answering the questions instead of everybody answering the questions.
Yeah,
as part of their intro. So, I'll be playing Marius Favors, uses they, them pronouns. The role from the playset that they occupy is a reality TV star. This is if you are familiar with Follow the Leader, this is the Marius who helps run the popular YouTube series What the Ghost. So Ghost Hunter Marius. They are a short and willowy person with long dark hair that they keep in a braid that is looking messier and messier these days, and their once pale skin is red and peeling due to being unused to this amount of sunlight. Their virtue is measured, their vice is selfish. Their relationships with the other player characters, with Talanor, it is one of resentment. With Rebel, they're indifferent. With Phee, they are friendly. And with Vivien, it is mutually beneficial.
I am playing Talanor Jezrin, he, they. He is a traveling businessman. He's broad and kind of rugged, has a bit of stubble, but makes a point to shave every day. His hair is longer, significantly, than we've seen previously in other iterations. Showcasing a bit of natural curl and frizziness, he keeps it up in a bun. He has hearing aids, but they have broken. Very much the image of the kind of crunchy businessman who does free climbing on weekends and takes a satellite phone camping. His virtue is courageous. His vice is rash. His relationship with Marius is dismissive. Relationship with Rebel is indifferent. Relationship with Phee is resentful. And with Vivien, competitive.
As usual, I am playing Rebel Vanguard, they, them pronouns. The role I have picked for Rebel is musician. And because of who I am as a person, I've decided that Rebel is a soundboard musician, sort of a YouTube thing, but not basically. They are a musician, and their primary instrument is a soundboard. I have a specific artist I'm thinking of, but I cannot remember that person's name for the heckin' life of me. Rebel's description is Mask of Center Pacific Islander with curly dyed hair. It's blue and purple, as per usual, muscular and solid, and just so many piercings. Their virtue is generous. Their vice is cowardly. Their relationships with Marius is support. With Phee is respect. With Vivien is authority. And with Talanor is resentment.
So, once again, I am playing Delphine O'Reilly, who goes by Phee. This time around, I almost rolled past my part of the document. From the playset, they are traveling for business. In this instance, they are they do a lot of consulting for TV and movies, which is how they can afford to fly inexpensive plane trips. But they're a scientist. I am purposely keeping that vague. A description: they're tall and lean, still managing to they're doing a better job of avoiding sun than Marius, but they do have distinctly more freckles than we've seen before. The same big grey-green eyes and increasingly faded indigo bangs. So their dress sense is punk meets business casual. Given the clothes that they've managed to recover, it might be leaning slightly more business casual, but then everything gets ripped, so we're right back to punk. Their virtue is humble. Their vice is lazy. Their relationships, Marius is respect, because they're the Ghost fan, okay? With Talanor is fear. With Rebel is resentment/frustration. And with Vivien, it is friendly.
Okay. I'm playing Vivien Blackthorn. They, them pronouns. You know them, you love them. Their role is the steward. They are femme in a mask way. Tall, muscular, very, very pretty. Maybe a little, less so, just from being disheveled. In not the fun way either. Still has the long red hair. Their virtue is attentive. Their vice is self-righteous. Their relationships with Marius is support, because someone has to. With Talanor is resentment, but oh boy, is that about to get complicated. With Rebel is untrusting, and with Phee is friendly.
All right. So we have a list of questions that our characters each have to answer. So starting at the top, why do you think the plane went down? And Marius's answer is, there are too many factors to name just one possibility. Everything from the pilot, the computer, or something mechanical could have failed, and I do not possess the appropriate education to say which.
The pilots were incompetent.
Jesus.
Because somebody in the cockpit fucked up big time.
Keep clicking away. I'm sorry. Probably something affected the plane systems. Navigation first, then something with the engines.
Vivien has an explanation ready for anyone who asks, and won't admit it, but thinks somehow it just doesn't quite add up.
Right. How do you feel about being one of the few survivors? Marius says, I'm glad to be alive. I just hope I stay that way until help arrives.
Nothing could have prepared me for the vast swathes of complete boredom. Sometimes I think I'd rather be dead.
Sorry, I love this version of Talanor so much.
He sucks.
He's a dick.
I know. The way Rebel feels about being one of the few survivors is weird and confused and a little guilty.
Phee feels torn and will not elaborate beyond that.
Vivien will have time to feel guilty once they know that we've really survived.
Who do you trust the most? And for Marius, that is Phee.
Vivien, because they're the most competent of the other people here.
Rebel trusts Marius most. They don't think about what they say, but they mean well.
Probably Vivien, because they at least don't put off vibes I can't figure out.
Similarly, Vivien trusts Phee. They're predictable, and I don't think they're hiding anything.
Who do you think isn't doing enough around the camp? Marius says, I'm well enough aware that a folklore degree and a ghost hunting show are not conducive to surviving in the wilderness. There's no need to rub it in.
Once again, Vivien, not because they aren't doing anything, but because I know they've been holding back recently.
Rebel's answer is definitely me.
For Phee, I'd say me, but then again, Marius. Like, I get it, they have big indoor cat energy, but they aren't the only person here out of their comfort zone.
Vivien's response is, well, so far, who is doing enough?
Damn.
Damn.
What is waiting for you when you go home? For Marius, that is Kari and Annabelle, Davy and Theo, the show for what it's worth now.
Assuming the business hasn't gone under without me, a multi-million-dollar company and a hot shower.
A cold shower, a dozen missed videos and gigs, a fresh inhaler, and food that doesn't have sand in it.
Grant applications and my succulents.
Friends I drifted away from when I took this job. The dread of choosing to either leave that job or face this trauma every day.
Wow. Poor Vivien. Do you want to go back home? And for Marius, that is more than anything.
God, yes.
Not really, but the beds here suck.
I sure as hell don't want to be here anymore.
Please, God, yes.
And rounding out the character questions, do you have any hope that rescue will come? And my hope wanes with each passing day.
No. We're getting out of here on our own power or not at all.
Of course it will. Someone's going to get us off here, right?
I'll let you know if I manage to muster some.
Vivien's response is, of course, and crossed out next to that is, because who knows what the others would do if I didn't.
All right.
These guys are so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Entirely.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think, going through a traumatic, disastrous event like this is going to bring out the best in everybody,
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Sure is.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna do our intro scenes in a moment, but I know it got mentioned a little bit in the chat, but for anyone who's maybe just listening to this, this is a much more mundane version of these characters or the world. Ignoring the fact that this is the universe where What the Ghost happens, and we do know that What the Ghost has met actual ghosts for the most part, especially compared to like space magic and mermaids. This is definitely much more a place in the world that we would maybe recognize. And to that end, I want to clarify, because I don't know if it's going to be something that actually just gets said outright. This version of Phee is not telepathic. I'm sure this will not cause any problems at all when 4 other sets of memories dump into their head at once.
Oh boy, it's just going to be a fun time around for everyone.
Oh yeah.
So now that we've done all the setup, I just want to read a little bit from the Karma the Karma book. At its heart, Karma is a game of collaborative storytelling. All the players have an opportunity to direct. Well, as written, it's 5 scenes, but I've never met a Karma game that didn't run long. So we're doing 3 scenes in addition to an opening scene and a finale. The opening scene and finale are slightly different to regular scenes. On our turn, we frame a scene by describing who and what is involved and then play it out. Explain what the scene looks like, where and when it takes place, and who is there with your character. Your scenes should aim to progress the group story and or your character story. Sorry, I lost my place in the document. During the scene, one of the other players can interrupt the flow of the scene to introduce a complication. They're small plot twists and unexpected turns in the story, and they require a dice roll. When you add a complication to a scene, you describe what happens. Then together with the active player, you determine the positive and negative outcomes of a successful and unsuccessful complication roll. Sorry, I lost my place in the document. During the scene, one of the other players can interrupt the flow of the scene to introduce a complication. They're small plot twists and unexpected turns in the story, and they require a dice roll. When you add a complication to a scene, you describe what happens. Then together with the active player, you determine the positive and negative outcomes of a successful and unsuccessful complication roll. And we also frame opening scenes which don't have complication rolls, and the finale will deal with that when we get there. So the first thing that we want to do is do our opening scenes, and we discussed in the chat that the opening scenes would probably be best served having the karma characters, how they got to where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we shake this up, because we can, and let's go in reverse alphabetical order for this.
Uh-huh.
Alrighty. So if we're going like flashback style, I'm going to go back to Vivien at the airport where they work, getting to the doomed flight, passing by a gate agent, this very tired-looking, incredibly average man, just gives a little nod. Just, hey, Viv. Hey, Dave. Then Dave calls up on the intercom as he's working the desk at this gate for passenger or standby passengers. Rucker, Young, Corey, Faraday. Just apologizes. The flight is completely full. All confirmed passengers have arrived. We're going to work to get you on the next one. Vivien gets on board, starts preparing their normal routine. They've been working here a while. They're happy to see one of their preferred coworkers, Ed, is also working on this shift. Things are going okay. Things have been a little rough for decorum and politeness on airlines recently. But there's only maybe one trouble passenger in business class. It all seems to be just another day on the job, and all hell breaks loose. Just kind of flash montage style, trying to get everyone braced as plane starts to go down. Vivien ends up being the last to reach their crash position, but they've done all they can to get the passengers protected for all the good that it ends up doing. They are taking stock after the crash. People that they work with are dead. The pilot's dead. Most of the passengers are gone. And they're trying to claw back to old camping trips and old first aid courses that they took at the local community center, just trying to remember how to keep people alive, trying to take charge because this is their job to keep people safe, regardless of whether there's any vehicle to keep them on. And then it's been a day, it's been a week, it's been 2. They start to lose count. They have been trying and doing everything that they can. And no progress is really being made. And they eventually just start to get worn down and realize they can't keep going the way that they have been, because they've been going at 100% or more, because who can say whether rescue is just around the corner? How long will they have to keep this up? And eventually they decide they can't keep doing this, and they slow down. Someone else is going to have to pick up this slack, because they just can't fucking do this anymore.
Good times.
Yeah.
Mm. We cut to another montage, but this time from a different perspective of Phee looking very tired, but sinking into the seat on the plane gratefully. Clearly, this is the second part of a flight, or the connection there. See them making conversation with other passengers and seemingly getting on pretty well. We cut to a look of horror on their face as we're in the aftermath of the crash, and the person they've been talking to is dead, grievously wounded, and no escaping the knowledge of just how died and how scared they were when it happened. We cut again to them desperately working with Vivien and a couple of others to try and salvage some kind of communications system together, and them swearing, because they are not a fucking engineer. They are not that kind of scientist. They're a biologist, wishing that their friend was here who knows so much more about machines. And we get cut again, and it's just them sat watching the fire, looking around at the other survivors, wondering what they're thinking, trying to figure out what the fuck to say to anybody, what they might need to hear, and having no idea. And we see them just steadily getting increasingly depressed. They run out of the medication they had with them, and just every day gets a little bit harder to get up and do their part. And they're just really fucking tired.
The next montage we see starts with Rebel sitting and flirting with somebody. We see Vivien pass by in the background, Rebel failing to notice them entirely. The announcement comes overhead that the standby passengers will need to go to a different flight. We see Rebel laughing and placing a hand on Erwin's arm, and then watching and waving as Erwin walks away towards where they get told, you'll need to be on another flight. We see Rebel matter-of-factly picking up a carry-on suitcase and one of those side-sling backpack bags, and very matter-of-factly carrying both onto the plane. We see Rebel you know, sitting in a window seat, looking out the window, flagging down Ed for, well, not even flagging down Ed, but we see Ed come to offer Rebel, do you want a drink? Do you want snacks? That sort of thing. And Rebel's, we can see Rebel nodding and smiling and maybe flirting a tiny bit, but not like actively or aggressively, just, a flirty person talking to somebody who's on the job and being, respectful about it. I think we see Rebel putting on headphones, fiddling around with a laptop, falling asleep. We see, the chaos of the crash and Rebel doing their best to help the people around them. And we see probably Ed or another airline attendant yelling at Rebel to put their own gear on. And they do. And then we see Rebel later on the beach sorting through the plane, basically going through and pulling out anything and everything that's useful, rummaging through the various supplies, and basically all the luggage that was left that didn't belong to any of the survivors. We see Rebel, basically talking to various people, offering them pills from bottles, or looking apologetic, no, I don't have what you need. Probably giving some to Phee as well. And then we see Rebel trying and failing to do a bunch of different outdoorsy things, where when you see somebody who's good at it doing it, it looks like it should be really easy. And then you try it and you realize, oh, shit, that is actually way more difficult than I expected it was going to be. You maybe see other people yelling at Rebel or sneering at Rebel, and Rebel just gradually backing up, backing away, closing down, retreating from the others. And we see Rebel spending a lot of time in the water, swimming around, maybe trying to search out other paths that might let us get past things, but mostly just swimming, spending time. We see a lot of Rebel sleeping and generally avoiding others. And as we get closer and closer to this critical date, we see Rebel, just sort of lying across one of those couch type things from a plane or something, and staring off into the middle distance, not asleep, but also very much not paying attention to anything that's really going on.
And we rewind again and start from a fourth perspective. We see Talanor sitting with Giazai in the airport. Talanor is on the phone talking to some business partner. He's not like yelling into the phone, but he's not exactly being considerate about the fact that there are other people around him. And we see the call for boarding to start. Talanor picks up both of their bags and shoulders them, still on the phone, talking on the phone the entire time up until Vivien has to come by and be like, "Sir, you need to put your phone away. Like, you need to put it on silent." And he settles into business class with Giazai, makes sure that Giazai has like a pillow and a blanket, and just is weirdly like, he's very animated the entire time they're taking off because he can't do anything until like they reach cruising altitude, and he's like, finally, and takes out his laptop and immediately starts tapping away at that, right? We see the crash and Talanor getting his own oxygen mask on and then helping Giazai with his. And in the water, helping to like support Giazai, because Giazai can't swim very well, out of the plane and onto the shore in the middle of this storm. And then going back in after he gets Giazai onto shore for other people who might be in the water. And the day after, we see him like glaring at his hearing aids and like shaking them, trying some percussive maintenance kind of deal, but they are super broken. And then signing to Giazai, like, I'm going to go see what I can recover, and getting started on the recovery efforts of everything. And it's just every single day we see him get up. He makes a notch in the stick he's using to keep track of days. He stretches, and then he gets to fucking work like a man possessed. We see him like yelling at Rebel, like, "Why aren't you working?" We see him like it's not showing off, but it is definitely like making sure at least that he matches Vivien's energy all the time. We see him yelling at Marius for not doing things. And just like every day more and more frustrated that they're still here. But every single day he gets up and he makes a mark on the stick, and then he gets to work. And some days that work is, doing things around the camp. Some days that work is going into the jungle to get resources, supplies, food. Some days that's going spearfishing or working to cannibalize more of the plane or working on a raft to maybe help them get past the barrier reef. We see the aftermath of one of their escape attempts, and he is digging graves alone because he was really nasty to anyone who tried to help. And then we see him get up the next day, put another notch in the stick, and get to work on another raft. And it just kind of iterates on this over and over and over. And in the background of like all of these scenes, we see Giazai, like, for one, Giazai is not working nearly as hard as Talanor is, because he's a reasonable person who recognizes, like Vivien does, that doing that just means you burn out faster. But Talanor never yells at Giazai. And I think Giazai makes positive relationships with the others much, much more easily. He seems to be genuinely like a laid-back, easygoing kind of person who always sees the best in people. And he does a little bit of that thing of like, oh, well, you know, Talanor's just tired, or he's cranky because he can't communicate with everybody, kind of thing. But I think that at a certain point, Giazai is just like, yeah, no, he is being a dick. You're right. Oh, well. And with the others, we kind of saw this deteriorating of self. And we see that with Talanor, but we don't see that in his particular... He's still doing the same thing every day. He's still getting up and going to do it. It's just like his shoulders get lower, and he does a different iteration on a raft that is only slightly different from the one before, and very much a defeatist kind of attitude is sinking into him, but he still doesn't stop working.
Oh boy. Once again, we rewind. We've got Marius facing Kari and saying, "Don't worry, I'll call you every night. I'll be back shortly." And then we cut to the airport where Marius is like looking a bit uncomfortable. I don't think they've ever enjoyed flying. This is no exception, but you know, it's a necessary trip. And they get on the plane, kind of, I don't know. I think maybe they roll their eyes at Talanor a little bit. Secretly very glad that they decided not to book business class. And they get settled in, put on some headphones, and just listen to potentially a rival podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we need to necessarily focus on how things go as the plane goes down, but they emerge from the wreckage mostly whole, a little scuffed, a little worse for wear, and panicking a little. I don't think they're very useful in trying to rescue anyone else. I think mostly we see them on the sand with their head between their legs, trying not to hyperventilate. But as things progress, we see them I think that it takes a day or two for them to come out of the shock and start doing things. But like we heard from their character introduction, they're not the most useful person. They try to take some cues from Vivien, and as far as things to do and how to do them, try to take some cues begrudgingly from Talanor, but it does not work out well. They may not be the weakest link, but they're definitely a weak link.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows. They get progressively more and more sunburnt as time goes on. It's not pleasant. They complain about it. I don't know that they necessarily make it everyone's problem, but, it's one of those things where, Marius is sunburnt. We understand this. And I think the weight of it all is definitely pressing down on them visibly, as they keep an eye on Talanor's time passing stick. But they keep going. They may not like it, but they keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to our first scenes.
I can't believe they made a universe in which Marius is better adjusted than Talanor.
It's Kari, man.
Listen, statistically, it had to happen.
I don't know that Kari is an excuse. Talanor's got Giazai for once.
That's the problem. Finger guns.
All right, so our first scene. I do want to note that the game does have a flashback mechanic. Everybody can get one flashback, not counting our opening scenes that are setting up everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to have a flashback, you get one. So you don't have to use it, but it's there. It's available for maximum emotional damage if you want to use it that way. So
emotional damage.
Do we just wake up? Whoever decides to go first, do we just wake up with this, or is there a storm going? And then, given the proliferation of electrical storms over and around this island.
I like the idea that we wake up like this.
I mean, combine.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like early hours of the morning, like the sun would be coming up, but there's this cloud cover.
Mm-hmm.
No respite from rain. We don't get that. We just get lightning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think Talanor is probably one of the first people to get up, just based on his whole deal. And oh god. Am I setting the first scene then?
Sounds like you
I
are.
guess I am. Fuck. So I think he, like, groans and puts his hand to his head, and kind of rolls over onto his back, and stares blearily through the gloom at the roof of their little hut. And we hear Giazai stir beside him. We hear Giazai stir beside him. And when he hears him, Talanor freezes. And then bolts upright, and turns to look at Giazai with wide eyes.
So I can think of a complication here. And feel free to veto if you're not feeling it, but I feel like the most obvious complication is, can Talanor keep it together seeing Giazai?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. So I personally don't think he will do very well. So I'm going to just nudge my karma track up a little bit to give myself a negative die. And then roll.
I don't think Tatsu does fancy stuff, so you'll have to roll your 2d6 and then your 1d6 and do the math.
Yeah, we'll say the first two dice are what they are, and then the third die is its thing.
Mm-hmm.
A 2, a 5, and a 4. So I rolled a 3, which is not a pass.
A little less than 7.
It's a
Just
little.
barely.
It's a little less than, yeah.
Just a smidge.
So I think he yells and falls backward out of the hut, like stumbles back. Well, I guess he's still kind of sitting, so it's more like a weird shuffle on his, like, with his butt and hands kind of thing. Scrambling away into this storm that's still going on. And we can hear Giazai, like, shouting, like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Is there a snake? But I think Talanor just runs and doesn't stop. And I think that's the scene.
Good googly moogly.
Hmm. Who's the most likely to wake up based on what's just happened?
I mean, who normally manages to sleep through the storms anyway? That said, I don't know enough about weather. I assume an electrical storm doesn't have to be noisy. I don't know. I know nothing. Science side of Twitch audience. Answers in the chat. But yeah, no. Regardless, that's not the issue. Like, if you would normally sleep through the storm, then I don't see why a bit more yelling on top of it would affect you. But if you'd be awake anyway, we're all used to Talanor yelling at this point. Like, does it even register anymore?
I'd like to say that Marius may be jumpy enough to be awoken by this. And I think I think Marius like notices Talanor running, but doesn't necessarily go after them. I think instead Marius chooses to wake up the others. So this is a scene with everybody else, I think, and Marius is just like, "Are you here?"
God.
How do folks respond to that question? Because like Marius gives no further context on that question whatsoever. That's just they go around waking everybody up, and they're just like, "Are you here?"
I think Vivien is waking up, memories flooding in, refusing to acknowledge this as anything more than a dream, because, well, magic isn't real. None of that could have happened. And when Marius asks, "Are you here?" just puzzled. Where else would I be? What happened, Marius?
And I think Marius. Go ahead.
I think Vivien would call you Dr. Favors, if that is Marius's preference.
Yeah, that's definitely Marius's preference. They didn't get their PhD for nothing. But Marius looks at Vivien and says, You don't know what I mean?
I think at this point it becomes more of Vivien is trying not to acknowledge it.
I don't think Marius is necessarily aware enough to pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
So you just see like this stricken look on Marius's face, and they turn to Phee and Rebel and say, "Surely you know what I mean."
I think Rebel woke up pretty quickly. Like, Rebel sleeps heavily, but when they wake up, they wake up. and I think definitely they sort of like drag themselves to join like the others and watch this conversation happening between Marius and Vivien, and just sort of like scrubs at their eyes and says, "I know what you mean."
For Phee's part, they don't really say anything, but as there's this flash of lightning overhead and the camp is like flooded with light for a moment, you all can see like tears sort of running down their face. And you can just tell from the look on their face that they understand exactly what Marius is talking about. This is possibly the most alert looking and engaged you've seen Phee look in a good while here on the island, too.
I think Rebel does like open their arms to Phee. Like, this is a thing Rebel does, is like try to offer people like emotional comfort and hugs. It's definitely a thing that was more present towards the beginning, but Rebel does definitely like offer Phee a hug.
I think Phee being in this state is what causes Vivien to snap out of it. Like, no, this is happening. This isn't just something that I could shake off.
We should have a complication.
Oh yeah, we should.
She is up.
I was going to say, look, technically Danielle's the only one not in the scene right now, so Danielle has to come up with the complication.
Yeah, I think the obvious one is GSI comes out of his tent. But that's not as much of a complication for you all, right?
I mean,
this would specifically be a complication for Marius.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. Has something that can have a good or a bad consequence.
I have a thought.
What?
What if August rolls well, Marius is able to take a measured response to GSI coming out. If August rolls badly, Marius has like a drastic or really bad reaction to GSI that possibly alienates GSI further from the situation or the group or something like that.
Literally every complication is just G as I exist.
Yeah, I'm totally down with that. Yeah, so
of course, the person who works on the ghost hunting show is going to be the first one with the complication other than the husband of, oh, the dead guy's here.
Yep.
Just, mwah.
I don't have any inclination either way which way I want it to go, so I'm going to just roll a flat 2d6 for this and not use my karma.
Mm-hmm.
And the response is an 8.
Nice.
That's done.
So Marius looks at GSI and looks around and says, I see. Well,
incredible. Very good. Just I see.
Did you all see where Talanor went?
He's not with you?
No. He was startled by something. And by the time I got out of bed, he wasn't in sight.
This is in character. Rubble's just like, oh, yes, I figured it out. Oh, shit.
yeah, Marius is able to put two and two together and goes, ah. Well, I suppose we'd better find him.
Oh, this is gonna go great.
I think that's a good line to end the scene on.
Ah, yes, good.
Okay, I would like to take the next scene because I know what I want my scene to be.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Do it.
Love this. Decisive action, yes.
I want my scene to be explaining the situation to GSI.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Listen.
Huh. If anybody wants to be in the scene with me, A+. Otherwise, it's just gonna be Rebel. GSI, before we go after Talanor. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, fuck. This is a fuck of a story. And you're going to think we're nuts. You're going to think we have actually lost it. Scrubs their eyes. I think we've lost it.
I think Vivien is here. A little resentful that Rebel was insistent on having this conversation, given their determination on this subject last time. It's like, no, wait, this isn't your job.
And I think what Rebel starts off with is okay, I'm going to tell you this, and it's going to sound absolutely insane because it is. But I need you to, like, really remember the fact that, like, I have not fucked with you like this. I do not fuck with people like this. And, it would be really stupid to fuck with you like this. But, the thing is, oh, fucking hell. And I don't think Rebel, like, goes into... No, wait. I'm gonna, like, actually have the words. I think what Rebel says is... So, there's some kind of magic bullshit happening, and got to do with multiple dimensions and the four of us, and also Talanor. And long story short, as far as Talanor is aware, you've died like 4 times, and they're freaking out a little bit about it.
Vivien is fully just head in hands, just like, God, this is the worst way you could have explained this.
500%.
I think GSI just looks increasingly more worried. And he, like, after you have said this, he, like, reaches out hesitantly to, like, touch your shoulder, and, like, tries to steer you over to a seat. Just like, have you been drinking enough water, Rebel? I know we've had a bit of a shortage, but, like, that doesn't mean that you can ration yourself like this.
I did not do that, GSI. I understand why you think that. But I am not hallucinating. I have not had anything weird to eat. I have had enough water. I have had probably more than enough sleep. But I'm not fucking with you. There's nothing... Okay, there's many things wrong with me, but this is not because of that.
And I think he, like, looks to Vivien for help. Like, I think... Do you think maybe they could be poisoned?
Vivien looks incredibly uncomfortable. Just, the problem is, if they're hallucinating, we all are. But you aren't.
And you ate the same thing we did.
None of this sounds like it should. None of this is causing something to itch at the back of your mind.
I think their worry turns a little bit to irritation. And he says, look, I know you guys don't like Tal, like, understandably so. He hasn't been his best self while we've been here. I get it.
Oh, I know.
But if you don't want to help me find him, you just have to say that, okay? This is a very mean trick to play.
It's not a trick, Giazai. And trust me when I say we are all intimately aware that Talanor has not been his best self. Trust me when I say that. And I will help you find Talanor. And probably Vivien will too. And maybe not Phee and Marius. Possibly maybe they will. I don't know. But this is not about disliking Talanor. And even if it was about disliking Talanor, we would still try and help him. And then be pissy at him. I am trying to prepare you for when he sees you again and either flips out again or, I don't know, fucking starts crying. Have we ever seen him cry? Rebel is like looking around at the others.
Rebel has seen.
No, I didn't want to.
Bitch, you have.
Rebel has seen Talanor cry. None of you have seen this version of Talanor cry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stress that Phee is not present for this. I'm going to use the term conversation loosely. And it's probably just, given that it's still pretty out, is trying to get stuff together to go find Talanor. When Rebel was like, I'm going to explain to Giazai what's going on, Phee just walked off. They also haven't spoken yet.
Yeah.
I think Marius is with Phee. Or at least, doing, not necessarily with Phee, but like following Fee's lead on, gathering stuff up. Still trying to think of a complication, though.
Solo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to make it another Giazai related thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of is.
I mean, the storm is still going on.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've got one. Although I don't know, it's not directly related to Rebel.
Yeah, picture anyway.
The thing I'm thinking is a lightning strike fells a tree to make like the direction that Talanor ran impassable.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that is a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna roll with that because on the one hand, yes, it doesn't necessarily apply to Rebel directly, but on the other hand, I have lost the dice channel. Here we go.
Was it something like Rebel is just like, look, let's just go find Talanor, and like starts marching off?
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's a positive outcome, you're able to end this conversation with Giazai early enough or convince him to come with you in that direction. And if not, you're still trying. It's like you're good consequence. You like, okay, you're not ready to believe me. I'm going to go get Talanor. And bad consequence is you are trying, because you genuinely believe that Giazai needs to know, you're trying to make him understand, and it takes too long, and the tree falls and blocks the path. Because then it's sort of
really good.
Because then it's sort of like reflecting Rebel's choice in this moment.
I like it. Oh wait. I almost did that entirely wrong. Fuck. Okay.
So what are you doing? Are you giving yourself an extra dice? Or are you going to be taking one away? What you doing?
No, I'm gonna let it go straight because both of these are really good options. Got an 8.
Nice. I don't think you've convinced GSI, but I think he stops questioning you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Rebel's just like, yeah, all right, this will have to do. And so are all 5 of us like able to get up the path before the tree comes down?
Or enough are to direct the others a different way, like.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
oh, I don't have any more, so I guess that's seen.
All right, Jade, you or me?
If you've got an idea for one, take it. If not, I can take back it.
I mean, there's a logical progression of us trying to find Talanor. That's the simple option.
Do you feel inspired to frame a scene? It's a simple question. Yes, we all know what the general next plot beat is.
Mm-hmm. I am torn on what scene to make of this.
Okay.
Feel free to talk it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if it's just the moment where we find Talanor again. And if so, has Vivien plowed ahead enough, like, that just fucking leaving Rebel behind? GSI's probably more in shape enough that he can keep up. But no, I think Vivien's just like, look, I know that he can't have gone that far because this island is not that big. But I need to be fast because he is fast.
I can be down with that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm going to make Danielle also face the consequences of their choices, and play 2 characters in the scene.
Cool.
At your discretion. Just that seems logical.
Mm-hmm. I think Vivien is probably able to push a little bit ahead. I think GSI's kind of sort of in shape, but also I think he's more of like a bookish type. So I think Vivien does get a little bit ahead. And they find Talanor like huddled up under some rocks. Like it's not a cave, but like it's a little outcropping into like a rocky cliff face kind of deal. And he's huddled there with his head in his hands and crying.
Vivien's not entirely sure how to get, his attention. But I think they just stand some respectful distance away, and if he does notice that they're there, they will give him the same signal, the same hand signal that they used last time, that was established from the Going Rogue universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Being just between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. I think it takes them a while to recognize that you're there.
And that's fine.
But they look up. They start a little bit because you snuck up on them. They can't hear you coming. And he sees you do this hand sign. And he scrubs at his eyes and does it back.
And they'll get closer, sit down just next to him. And this Vivien knows a little bit of ASL from their job. It made sense to try to learn enough.
Also, Phee can have taught you some more in the past few weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, they can kind of converse. It's stumbling, and they do kind of rely a little bit on you to be able to read their lips to fill in the gaps. But that they're looking a little bit lost and sheepish. And I think what they lead with is just, well, I suppose I did ask for this.
I think Talanor signs something that you don't know the sign, but you're pretty sure it's a curse of some kind. And he kind of like elbows on knees, head in hands, rubbing at his forehead. And he looks up and he signs I don't know if I can face him.
I think Vivien isn't sure what to say to that. I think they didn't really expect this to come up yet. As much as they sincerely meant what they said. And I think eventually this, I think, is something they don't really know how to convey in sign, but they'll say, I know that you're strong enough, and I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you is definitely something they are able to sign, though.
Mm-hmm,
So that is just doubly emphasized.
I think this is the point when GSI comes crashing through the underbrush. And Talanor, like, does a really sharp inhale. Because he didn't get a good look at GSI before. But now in this kind of, like, gloomy pre-dawn stormy light, and he stands really shakily, and then just pulls GSI into a crushing hug.
We need a complication. This feels like a good place for a complication.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
What if there's a lightning strike?
Mm-hmm.
And oh, it's a good thing this isn't a consequence for Talanor.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the positive side, it lands close enough to startle everybody into going, we should get away from here. And since this is for Vivien, I have no idea for a negative.
You are struck by lightning and killed instantly.
No.
That's how karma works, right?
Oh, damn, that's still not a consequence. No, maybe it's a consequence for Vivien.
Talk it out. What you got?
So I'm thinking something like on a negative, the lightning strike hits and like does something to GSI, either connects them to previous lives or possibly in some way replaces them with the house version of Ed, something like that.
Right. I'm not really fond of either of those. I don't think I want this to be magical bullshit.
That is
as fun as it is. I think this is a game not for that.
Yeah. Snake is also an excellent idea. Honestly, like Snake is a fabulous idea.
There is a rustling in the bushes, and on instinct, Vivien is going to go to stop whatever it is, because like these snakes do not fuck around.
Mhm.
Though they're poisonous, not venomous. But regardless, positive consequence, it was a snake, it was going to do something bad or pose a threat to the group. Negative, not the snake, was the lizard.
Ooh.
Oh.
And I'm not going to say you kill the lizard, because that feels excessive and final in a way I don't like, but it's definitely going to there'll be this moment of, you immediately recognize it and it just fucking runs away.
Mm-hmm.
The plot hook.
You yeet whatever it is.
Yeah.
And if it's
this bitch dangerous,
yeah.
Yeet.
If it's a positive, then it was a snake, and if it's a negative, you yeet the lizard.
Yep. Good shit.
Yeah, I should just roll this flat.
Lizards. I was going to say yeet the lizard. That sounds like such a euphemism, but I don't know what for.
I think yeet the lizard is a Warped Tour band.
Or it's a fencing move.
I do like having positive dice at the end of things, but I can't say that I'm especially interested in this result, so I'm just going to roll flat.
Mm-hmm.
I should have done the negative dice because I got a 6 anyway. Yeah. It is about half a second after I have done the motions to like Vivien probably does have a hatchet with them is the thing.
Sure.
I think
Fire axe is probably on a plane.
Yeah, I think luckily they're a bit too slow and instead on instinct grab this thing around the neck and throw, and then they realize that's not a snake. Fuck.
What if it's like you do that and then you catch that of your hand, and rather than it being the possible toxin that we've seen on these eggs, it's left like a bioluminescence on your hand that you immediately recognize.
Yeah.
As opposed, just because less of a, wait, was that a lizard? More of a, in the moment, like you acted instinctively and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But then you realize like, oh shit. Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God damn it. Why did I think of this 5 seconds too late? I really should have done the negative.
Well, you would have got the same result. So yeah. You just haven't earned an extra positive for later.
Yep, that's fine. I just thought of something to keep in the back pocket. It's fine.
Make a note of it.
It's a surprise tool that will hurt us later.
Mm-hmm.
It's a surprise tool that won't help us later.
That's already the title of the latest FTL episode.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I necessarily have anything else for this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just like a looking around and all of us, as the rest of us sort of arrive, if we all did. Did we all go into the woods?
I think so.
Rebel did.
Cool. Just double checking everyone's there. It's like we get there and then it's like Vivien being like, and we all see the bioluminescent stuff and we're like, oh shit.
No, I think they hide it.
They hide it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Very interesting.
Spicy.
Thickens.
Is it like you like smearing it on like a leaf or something, like out of sight, just like
mm-hmm.
Or like shoving your hand in your pocket or something as simple as that?
Yeah, I think it's a combination.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So do we want to take a break here?
Yeah, sure. I'll think
Jade,
about.
Doesn't
No, I'm happy to take the break, and I'll try and think of what I want to fucking do for my scene.
okay.
okay. Sounds good.
Oh, you said
Nice.
round, not scene. I can't
Yeah.
read.
Uh,
That's okay. Let's take the break
Still-
now.